Hi, friends. Welcome to Coffee Break. This is Dr. Michele Alignay. It's a rainy afternoon, and it's a fitting day to just sit down and warm up and talk about a very critical topic that is the continuation of this week's topic on toxic relationships. Ang mahiwagang tanong ko, gusto niyo ba ng toxic na relasyon? Kasi ako ayoko. I really don't like dealing with toxic people, or we refer to them sometimes as energy vampire. Yung pagkasama natin sila, parang, ba't parang tayo yung mali, tayo yung nauubos, or tayo ba yung may kasalanan at tayo yung laging kailangan maging be the better person? Well, there is a line that we need to draw, and that's why we need to really understand who is this toxic person, what makes a toxic relationship. So join me for the rest of the afternoon para sagutin kung tayo ba ang toxic, tayo ba ay nasa toxic relationship, and if we are, we would like to move out of toxic relationships. So get your coffee or tea, and then let's keep the ball rolling. The other day I talked about toxic relationship, and we started that. What we Who is this toxic person? We talk about it. We started discussing that there are 3 points that makes a toxic relationship. Uulitin ko yon, and then later on I'll expand further. So please stay tuned kasi baka maging mahaba yung usapan natin. The first one is criticism and contempt. Ang isang relasyon ay masasabi nating toxic if there's criticism and contempt. The second one, nako, ito, parang talaga toxic yon, avoidance. Yung mga umeeskapo lagi, yung mga ayaw i-deal with. Magkaiba yung you're avoiding conflict, but the other thing is you don't want to resolve conflict. That's another thing. So, one, it's criticism and contempt. The second is avoidance. And the third is feeling hopeless and helpless you feel that you are hopeless or helpless in the negative energy that you get whenever you're with these people, whenever you're with these toxic people, you feel na parang, hi, ba't ganito yung nangyayari sa akin? Nakakaubos. Friends, ladies, mommies, daddies, whoever you are, single people, I know that many of you are watching already. Hindi ako bip-bip-bip because we need to really talk about this topic direct to the heart. So please, let me know. Have you ever been in a toxic situation? Have you ever been in a toxic relationship? The thing is, this happens to even loving, quote-unquote, loving relationships. And ang pinakamasakit, minsan nangyayari to sa pamilya. Yun. Kaya ngayon, I would like to go through with you what are the things that we should note if there is such thing as toxic family dynamics. Hindi toxic yung tao, yung dynamics dun sa relasyon. I don't know if you've felt that sometimes, that when you deal with this person, mabait naman siya. Maganda naman yung intention niya. Mabuti naman siyang tao. Pero bakit whenever he's put in the middle of the family, that person creates toxicity? Is it tricky? Maybe, but no, because we can consider the family being in the family systems, we call that the family is under one emotional skin. So, kung ano yung nararamdaman ng isa, majority naaapektuhan. So, let's move into that. Because in that case, if you've been there, may mga nagkasabi dito, you've been there, you consider that yes, there might be the person, maybe you can just love the person from a distance, or you can deal with the person na siya lang. Okay naman siya, pero pag kasama na niya yung asawa or kasama na niya yung mga anak niya, and then it becomes very toxic and you don't want to deal with them anymore. So now, let's move on. What are the toxic family dynamics that we need to understand? Unang-una, there is that essence of splitting. Pinaghihiwalay. Have you encountered this? Sila yung nagpa-plant ng seeds of jealousy and resentment sa pamilya. Yung parang pagkaharap mo siya, mabait, pero paano mo nalaman yung information na yan? Or bakit parang we are put one against the other? Sila yung nag-split sa family, sila yung gumagawa ng issue. There's no issue between family members, pero sila yung gumagawa ng issue. In short, sila yung gumagawa ng intriga. The first aspect, splitting. The second one, this might be deep, but this is actually part of a theory that I teach, and it's called triangulation. Triangle. So triangle, how many sides are there in a triangle? Tatlo, di ba? There are three sides in a triangle. So, three sides in a triangle. So, may tatlo ring sulok, may tatlo ring tao. So, in a triangle, they do not confront each other. Para lang silang nag-iikutan na tatlo. Parang sabihin mo dun sa nanay mo, tapos yung anak sasabihin dun sa nanay na dahil sinabi ng tatay. So, triangulation. Or parang magkakampi yung dalawang anak, tapos magkukutsaba sila against the father. Or magkakampi yung magulang kasi gusto nilang outrule either yung anak or yung in-law. So, pwede yun. That is really a very dysfunctional family dynamics. It's called triangulation. Have you ever been in that situation na you're in the middle of triangulation? The thing is, kayo yung pinagtulungan. So, yung splitting, wala tong triangle. Posibleng nandun siya sa gitna, kaya nga siya yung naghihiwalay. Gumagawa lang siya ng issue. Yung triangulation, pwedeng kampihan, pwede naman galit, pwede naman pinagtutulungan. So it can be anything. Basta parang may lagi siyang love triangle or family toxic triangle. Tawagin natin ganyan. Okay, another one. This is something critical, but I hope that you are not here. It's called chronic disrespect. Yung bang kahit anong gawin mo, parang you need to prove yourself to that family. Yung hindi ka nila nire-respeto. And if you are in that family, oh my God, I cannot imagine being in a family who disrespects you, that who just sucks you out, na kahit napakagaling mong tao, they just cannot accept that you are good simply because maybe they're insecure or maybe that culture of disrespect is already existent in the family. So check it out. Is there chronic disrespect? As in chronic, na either you do good, you show them, ito yung maganda yung gawin mo or hindi maganda, there's still disrespect there. So the fourth one, pathological lying. Andito yung friend ko, si Jing. Hi, Jing. Ito yung sa Tagalog, yung malutong na malutong pag nag-uusap tayo. Sinungaling siya. Pathological lying. Yung parang she believed in her lies already, that person is just already living in a world of lies. Yung lahat ng nasa isip niya, normal na. So pathological lying, ang dami niyan sa surrounding, ang dami niyan sa ating mga higher ups. Pathological lying, they are people who are pathological liars. There might be a dysfunction in their psyche, and also there might be a lot of insecurities created in their system because they don't want to feel that they are less. They don't want to feel na basag ang kanilang self-worth. They don't want people to see that they're insecure. So pathological lying, nagpatong-patong na yung kanilang pagsisinungaling. Na parang, sabi nito, ganito. Sabi nito, ganito. Natawa naman ako dyan, Jing. You love my color. Thank you. Na-distract ako sa comment mo, friend. Miss na natin na isa't isa. Okay, pathological lying. Another one. What you want to look into is that okay, ito I think maraming makaka-relate dito. As I mentioned last time, it's hard for the Filipino family to set boundaries. So one thing na toxic sa pamilya is that they react when we set boundaries. Parang pag sinabi natin na, wag mo na tong pakialamanan, akin na to. I remember a friend, may kausap siya na client, and then sinasabi niya dun sa mother-in-law of the bride-to-be, sabi niya, Ma, wag mo na siyang pakialamanan, wag mo na pakialamanan yung anak mo, ganun talaga. Sabi niya, masasaktan ka lang. Tawang-tawa talaga ako nung narinig ko yan. Nung narinig ko yon, because there are people who don't like it when their family members put them in their place. Yung bang pinagsarahan ako ng pinto, hindi sinagot yung tawag ko. Gusto ko lang naman malaman, gusto ko lang pagsabihan and everything, pero gusto ko lang naman, concern lang naman ako sa mga apo ko. Concern lang naman ako sa kanya. Gusto ko lang makita ko ano talaga nangyayari. But they put me on their place or they set the boundaries. Ayaw nilang pakialamanan. Well, totoo naman yan. There are certain boundaries that we need to respect. Especially if one, we are already adults. Pag adults na tayo and we are maybe 25 onwards, it's really hard maybe for some parents who tend to be very controlling to accept that we are capable of making our decisions and capable that we have to set the boundaries, na hindi lahat ng gusto nila para sa atin at 25 sila pa rin yung masusunod. Another thing na kailangan talaga mag-set yung boundaries, I don't know kung may nakaka-relate sa inyo, press heart if you can relate or sabihin nyo ako to, is that in-law relationship. Many in the Filipino family, it's ito yung nangyayari. In the Filipino family, parang the in-law relationship is that since many of us are living with them or living beside them, we tend to be too connected and too comfortable with each other to the point that we do not want them. If I am the in-law, we do not want our kids to do their own thing. Gusto natin lahat ng gagawin ng isa't isa alam. Parang kailangan mag-report, kailangan alam, at kailangan may say tayo. Saan papasok yung apo? Saan papasok yung anak? So parang maraming nakaka-relate. Ayaw lang nyo lang magsalita. Nakikita ko yung mga hearts nyo in Facebook if you're watching in Facebook. I just would like to so there, pathological lying becomes angry and protests when boundaries are set. At ito pa yon. Another thing when we set boundaries, when we say no to them, tayo yung masama. Have you experienced that, friends? Somebody saying here, I was thinking about pathological lying, parating siyang bida, and we talk about their actions, their defense, they were born this way, or they are using their mental condition as excuses. Approve. You know, there are people like that. And they, as long as they do not want to admit that they have fault, that they have responsibility for themselves, the more the toxicity follows. And alam na natin yon. Pag kinausap mo, sila yung magaling. Or pag kinausap mo, sasabihin nila, ganito na talaga ako eh. Ganito kami pinalaki eh. But friends naman, try to think about it. We all grow and evolve. So that's why if people don't want to grow and evolve, kasalanan na nila yon. Problema nila yun. Huwag na natin silang problemahin dahil ayaw nilang mag-grow. Ayaw din nilang mag-evolve. They want to be stuck where they are. Maybe they were like that in the 1970s or in the 1980s. So gusto nila doon na lang sila sa sirkang yon. Sila na yung maiwan doon, but we would like to choose the life that we want. And that is when boundaries are set, yun yung pinakamahirap. And that is why when boundaries are set, yung connected dun sa sinasabi ni Hazel that they don't want to, they use their mental conditions, or I have depression, ganito na ako, pagbigyan mo na ako, may sakit na ako. They use it as excuse. And another toxic family dynamics is their refusal to apologize. Huli mo nang nakasakit na, or alam mo na sila yung may kasalanan, ayaw pang umamin. Kumbaga, huli mo na sa bibig, alam mo na dapat ideally, they are owning up to their mistake, owning up to their lack, owning up to what they did not do, owning up to their failures, or maybe even if they don't really totally fail, but still that owning up, it's taking responsibility for their actions or their inactions. And ang dami niyan because of pride. Kaya I don't know, sabi mo nga, Jing, sa 70s, yes, baka pwedeng iprito na yung fried chicken ng 70s kasi iba yung lasa nun sa fried chicken ngayon. So that's refusal to apologize. So where am I? So the first is splitting, second, triangulation, third, chronic disrespect, fourth, pathological lying, Six, five becomes angry and protests when boundaries are set. Six, refusal to apologize. At dahil they refuse to apologize, the number seven is they take no responsibility and they blame others. Yun yung mahirap. It's really toxic when people start blaming others. Ayaw nilang umamin eh. Eh, ganito na talaga ako. Di ba, duktong-duktong yan? Ganito na talaga ako eh. Eto na talaga kami. Ang susunod doon is that ayaw nilang mag-apologize. Bakit? May masama ba sa ginawa ko? Concern lang naman ako or wala naman akong ginawa. Ayan, that's the next phase. And then, they took no responsibility. Ang sasabihin pa, bakit ikaw anong ginawa mo? Bakit hindi mo tinanong sa asawa mo? Bakit hindi mo tanongin sa kapatid mo? Bakit hindi mo paraan? There. Juliet, I'll take what you're saying. When we make some boundaries with our in-laws and family, this is a time that sumbatan moments arise. Even if we don't want it that way to happen, yes! Kaya feeling natin, di ba, nagsusumbatan? Because they don't want to take responsibility. Friends, alam nyo, ang pinakamahirap kausapin ng mga tao is that they don't want to admit that they are at fault. They don't want to apologize and they don't want to take responsibility for what they do or what they fail to do. These are, yeah, Jing, this is so correct. These are so typical. I teach family systems and it's just so interesting to dissect the Filipino family because of all this. They don't want to apologize, or pag nag-apology, alam niyo yung sa term natin, lumabas sa ilong, parang hindi naman sincere, andito lang sa iyong utak para masabi na nag-sorry. But they do not, when we apologize, we actually take responsibility and there's no more blaming. Akin na to. Wala nang kasi ikaw kasi siya. Eh kasi ganun to yung dati eh. Kasi yung tatay ko, yung nanay ko, may sinisisi pang ibang tao. Because some people, the opposite of that is that some people can be very controlling. Ayan, may kilala kayong ganito? Controlling. What do you mean by controlling? Gusto nila areglado sa kanila lahat, aprobado sa kanila lahat, gusto nila may say sila. Sila yung gusto nila, sila yung maghahari-harian, sila yung reyna, at sila rin yung bida. Ayan. Meron akong friend, sabihin niya, ay nako, yung family member kong iyan, nagbibida-bidahan. Hindi ko alam kung nandito si Mara. So, my friend, I took that from my friend and then it's so funny, nagbibida-bidahan, eh parang gusto pa niyang pabida more than Jollibee. That's so funny, but come to think of it, there's a lot of people who are very controlling and you know why? Because many people, that's why they would like to control their family members is that their worth is actually anchored on their families. Parang feeling nila, eto, there are people who would ah I would like to take this. People don't go under maturity period. They always treat themselves as the underdog. Wait, yes, but some people would try to be the underdog, but that's their way of control. They use their sickness, they use their position, they use their disadvantage point as a way to control. At ang pinaka hindi natin nakikita, they use emotional we become emotionally hijacked. Yung parang they make us feel guilty na hindi tayo tumulong or parang ginagamit in the name of love. Pamilya pa man din tayo pero bakit kailangan mo pang sabihin yan? Ba't kailangan mo pang makasakit? There you go. And that happens. That happens. Or parang they're so controlling, either marami silang sinasabi or marami silang sinasabi lagi or nagpapaawa effect. Nagpapaawa effect. That's actually psychological blackmail also. We become hijacked with that kind of emotion. So, ang dami nating masasabi with controlling and you know, that controlling of the family is very rich. Yan pa lang, pwede na isang buong topic natin yan. It's something that's good to explore, right? And another one, ito, the last one is that toxic people are verbally offensive. Kung meron tayo the other day about avoidance, there are people who are verbally offensive. What do we mean by this? This is very obvious. You look at social media, there are really higher ups, and people now are becoming verbally offensive to each other, and that's toxic. They're calling people names, they're negating, and they're failing to take responsibility for themselves, and they become verbally offensive. Lagi na lang parang may may intentional harm na gustong mangyari, and then they really do it to offend. They really do it to take offense. So you have to reflect, am I worth like this? If you are in that kind of family dynamics, friends, let's pray that you would really be guided. We pray for God's grace for you to really deal with it. Because what we need to learn is how we deal with toxic relationships. Alin dito yung nakarelate ka? Can you put that in the chat, friend? Alin dito yung, maybe it's not you, but maybe you've heard of friends, people, and you always see people doing it. So please do put that in the comment that's how it is. Na ito yung nangyayari sa'yo. So let's go to dealing with toxic relationship. What Belle, you're asking, how about the one member who is doing projection? Well, it can be a defense, but if it becomes repetitive at marami pang elemento existent like the family toxic patterns that I said, and maybe it's toxic. Okay, so here you go. Let's go to dealing with toxic relationships. One thing for you to realize is that I lay down to you the signs that the family dynamics might be toxic. And what you can do is actually to recognize it. You have to learn the signs and how it's affecting you. Ang pinakamahirap minsan, friends, is that we're being emotionally and physically sick already because of the issue, because nangyayari sa atin, naaapektuhan na tayo, pero ayaw nating aminin. We're not recognizing it. The hardest thing to have that happens to us is that when we are in the middle of a family, pag nasa gitna tayo ng pamilya, lalo na kung pamilya natin, our tendency is not to be very, very objective. Because as I said, the family is usually under one emotional skin, or sabihin na natin, you're just like in one swimming pool that you don't see the feet of the people. So, hindi mo alam kung may nalulunod, hindi mo alam yung activities ng iba kasi lahat kayo, you're plunged deep into the pool. The only time that you can be very objective and observe the movements of each person in the pool is when you try to get out of it or you go to the edge and be the silent observer of your family. Because it's hard to be objective if you are in the middle of the family, if you will lack recognition. So the first thing that we should do to deal with toxic relationship, you recognize, you go back to our last episode, and then the signs that of a toxic family that I shared earlier. And then that's one. Recognize. The second one is reinstate your worth and value. Even though you came from that family, you have to remember you are more worthwhile. You have to reinstate. Kung meron kang names that you were called, you have to really call yourself na, hey, I am worth more than that. I am worth more than this. Okay? And then you have to reinstate your worth and value. Um, Oh, Juliet, you're asking about work, low ranking, and like me, when they know they took it the other way around. Well, you have to reinstate your worth and value. You give dignity to yourself. I like saying that. You may be affected by your family. And in the middle of a work, you may be affected by your work, but you are more worth more than your family. You are worth more than your work. We are a sum of many things, of many aspects of our lives. Kaya friends, ang mas naaapektuhan at nagiging toxic madalas as yung mga tao na yung buo nilang pagkatao nandyan lang, they put all their eggs in one basket. For example, we become clingy in a marriage only because our worth is connected through our marriage. We become clingy to our work. Talagang bigay buhos na buhos natin. Bigay todo sa trabaho because that's the sense of worth. We have to remember that our sense of worth is actually ingrained in many other in other aspects of our being. It's partly our family, it's partly our loved ones, it's partly our own talents, uniqueness. It's more about how God created us. And the other aspect dyan pa lang yung work and purpose. So hindi lang yan isa. So the thing is, pag nilagay natin yung buo nating pagkatao, we don't know that it can eat us, especially if it's in the toxic family. Pag yung buhay natin, yung family natin, at we anchor and we depend on these people called family, called relationships, about how they see us and how they appreciate us or appreciate our worth, then it becomes really hard to reinstate our worth. So check it out, friends. Is your worth in your family, or maybe your toxicity is at work, the relationship with the people around at work? If it is, and then check, you have to reinstate and know that you are more than the sum of your parts. That's just a part of your life, but not entirely yourself. Yourself is different. You are your whole. So this is quite technical. So one is, do you recognize? The second is, recognize your worth. The third, okay, you have to reconcile if the other person would like to work on it. The funny thing that I hear many times is that, Doc Shell, what if my husband don't want to work on our relationship? I know I'm in the middle of a toxic relationship pero ayaw niya i-work out. Another thing is that, what if my mother or my mother-in-law or my sister would not listen to me? Ayaw naman nila akong pakinggan na ito yung sinasabi mo. Friends, you have to reconcile with yourself. You have to reconcile within na gano'n na talaga sila. Okay, sometimes the key is just to share to them however they take it. Kung magalit man, kung ma-deflect ka man, kung i-deny man, sinabi mo na sa kanila. Tapos na yun sa'yo. You relinquish already. Binigay mo na sa kanila yung power. At nilagyan mo na muna ng tuldok, because you reconcile it within you that whatever your reaction may be, I have shared my part and I've told you how your toxicity is affecting me. And I need you to know that, because I need to restore my dignity. So you have to reconcile it. Either this person would, some people would apologize, some people would admit to it. They might get angry, really angry at you. But friends, this is something that you could reconcile. Patawad, lalo na dun sa mga nasa toxic relationship and then they cannot work on it. Have you reconciled and make apologies within you because you deserve peace? Hindi dahil sa you need to hear their apology, but actually it's more for you. You reconcile within you, and I need to restore my peace. And so whether or not I hear their apology or not, I will just forgive. Di ba? Pwede naman. So the fourth one, revisions. So puro to our friends, these are the R's in dealing with toxic relationship. One is recognize it. Second is reinstate your worth. Third is reconcile. Not reconcile actually with the person, but reconcile it internally. And fourth, revisions. If you're in the middle of the family and you do not want to repeat the dynamics, kung meron kang pamilyang pinalaki, halimbawa, you know that in your own family of origin, ito yung patterns ng family mo, ng parents mo, ng kapatid mo, ng mga kamag-anak mo. And then you don't want to do that to happen. You don't want that to be downloaded to your own little family that you're creating. For the parents here, you may be able to relate, or for the singles, you do the revisions. It's really a conscious effort to do the revisions na ito, nangyari to sa akin, ito, hindi to nangyari sa akin. I would make a conscious effort. I would be intentional to work on this dahil hindi ko to gustong makuha ng mga anak ko. Diba? Hindi ko gustong makuha nila na madamot. Hindi ko gustong makuha nila na I'm a toxic parent to them. So, ayusin ko to and then I will revise. So, really, revision is actually a result of recognition, reinstating your worth, and a reconciliation. Itong revision na to, ito na yung parang wow. You're able to manifest it in the life that you're leading. But this is not perfect. This is not an automatic thing. Hindi porke sinabi ko, sige na nga, magre-revise na ako today. No, this is really a process. And you would see that as we go along the way, parang maya't maya, as we move on, toxic or not, in parenting, marami tayong nako-confront na old issues natin as an individual with how we are dealing with our kids. Kaya we need to continuously revise and tweak, revise and recalibrate things to be able to fit to our family, to be able to adjust to our kids also, and to be able to revise it in how we want our lives to be, how we want to grow, how we want to be a faith-filled family, how we want to be aligned with each other, and how we want to have a deeper and a better relationship with our loved ones. Maybe it's our own family of procreation, or maybe if you still want to work on your family of origin, and then that's good. That is the fourth revisions. And fifth, ito yung pinakamahirap, but I need to say this. The R here is that reparent yourself. Have you heard of reparenting yourself? Ibig sabihin, stop, you're adults already. Stop blaming your parents for the things that they failed to do or for the things that they did not do. Stop asking them to keep doing things for you if you are adult already, because we have a responsibility as adults to reparent ourselves. We treat ourselves right because we deserve that. We reinstate actually the child that God made us to be. We reinstate our worth with the dignity that we have. We love our bodies, we accept our being, and we reparent. Kung kailangan nating alagaan ng gusto yung sarili natin, we do that. If your parents are the one who's toxic and you want to reinstate your worth, learn how to reparent yourself. You know, just to share, there's a program that will be helpful kung sa tingin nyo, you are that person na parang ang dami nyong bagay na kailangan ulitan at i-reparent ng nyo sa sarili nyo. There's a program run by a very good friend. It's called Reparenting the Child Within, RCW. If you would like to know details about that, let me just show you. You can do the reparenting program. It's available. You check out RCW Cares. They're personally, I took this program. They check out the RCW Cares in Facebook. Okay, so there you go. The parenting program, the RCW Cares in Facebook, that will help you deal with your own reparenting issues. And lastly, is this conversation really good for you? Let me just read some of this. Lyra, resolving to cut the generational curse. Some cases, they pick it up from toxic behavior from their own experience. Yes. So if you think that you have too many toxic behavior that's already manifesting and you need to learn how to reparent yourself, you have to start reading, and you have to at kung gusto nyo mas mabilis pa yung proseso nyo, you go and take that reparenting program. I took that myself. And lastly, sinabi ko na, you need to retool. Friends, you need to retool. You need to retool yourself. You know, there's a lot of information here. Listening to Coffee Break, it's actually learning. This is actually a way for us to retool, to have new insights, new realization. And then thank you for making Coffee Break part of your growth, part of your well-being strategy to support you this pandemic onwards. And personally, I also read a lot. So itong issue na to, gusto ko siyang ma-resolve. And then I would read about it. So we have to keep learning to retool ourselves. Friends, hindi lahat ng gusto nating subscribean, subscribean natin. Let's choose what is fitting and in line with our values, with our faith and religion, and choose also how can we retool ourselves in ways that will not cost us too much, but still going to be very helpful and worthwhile. And we can retool ourselves actually with the daily experiences that we are actually encountering. Because, you know, even in just the Bible reflection, if you are Catholic and you listen to the Mass, In the just the Bible reflection. For example, today is the feast of Martha. No, not Martha, of Mary of Bethany, the sister of Martha. And if we reflect on how can we retool ourselves in the light of Mary. Mary saw Jesus, and she was her eyes are filled with tears and fear when Jesus was raised up from the dead, tapos hindi niya nakita in the tomb. So, punong-puno siya ng fear at punong-puno siya ng anxiety and worry. Where did you take my Lord? But we can learn from that. And I would like to end with that because toxic relationship, we have to remove that fear. We have to remove the tears in our eyes. We have to remove the pity if we are in the middle of it, or if you are the toxic one. You have to remove that so that we can retool ourselves better. We can be a better person, and we don't use love. Mahal ko kaya ako ganito, kaya ako to, kaya andito ako sa relasyon na to. No, because if it's really love that we have in the family, mahirap 'tong pag-usapan. Pero if there's really love in the family, you want growth, healthy growth, appropriate growth for all members. So, kaya meron term si Brother Bo that I love. Sometimes, even if you love them, you just learn to love from a distance. Hindi mo kailangan sausawan lahat. You don't need to be overly involved with everything. You just give them what is due. You just give them the respect and the minimum requirement. And beyond that, you just continue to serve and love them from a distance. If you are living with the parents that is making you feel trained, making you less of a person, try to retool yourselves and then try to see what new ways of doing things can I think about. This is really a long journey. Friends, being in a toxic relationship, it's not an easy feat. Kaya ang hirap din, kahit na it's easy for me to discuss this topic, I know na baka meron kayong mga naging hugot. So friends, I would like to ask you now, what is that takeaway that you have for today? Ano yung mga yung isang bagay na gusto mong baunin today? Because we need to learn how to really deal with our families, with our loved ones, and we don't want to be in the middle of a toxic relationship. Gusto mo na natin tumanda ng masaya. Ayaw naman nating tumanda na ang dami nating cargo. Ayaw nating tumanda dahil sa konsumusyon at sa toxicity of being in that kind of relationship that is sucking the joy and the goodness in us. Somebody asked, Belle, how about if it's in-laws? Love from a distance. Hindi mo kailangan sausawan lahat. Hindi mo kailangan papasukin sa tenga at sa puso lahat ng masasabi nila. Minsan pag nagalit ka and then you just park it there. And minsan tatanggapin mo na lang na ibang puno ang pinanggalingan nila. Iba silang puno and there's no comparison with your. That's always my analogy. In a couple relationship, you came from different trees. Hindi mo pwedeng i-force yung puno mo sa puno ng asawa mo dahil magkaiba talaga yan. So what do? You crop, you create a new fruit. You create. So you don't deal with your in-laws, you deal with your spouse. Para sa akin yun. Because it's more critical. Kasi mas importante yung relasyon yung dalawa kaysa dun sa relasyon dun sa in-laws kasi honestly, there's nothing we can do anymore with them. Okay? So, that's it for coffee break, and I would like to announce it's almost the third week of July. I would like to announce that I'm going to come up with the Marta's Post workshop. I know I announced this a bit earlier, but then there's shifts in the topic, but we will move it to, ta-da! Since today is the feast of Mary of Bethany, we're launching this next week, and the feast of Martha on July 29 is the feast of Martha of Bethany. We're going to launch at a very discounted price the workshop, Martha's Post workshop. So save the date. It's on September 18. Next week we'll open up the registration in a very discounted price because it's the feast day of my saint Martha of Bethany. So there it goes. I hope that this topic on toxic relationship is something that's helpful for you, please, friends, if you can share this to family and friends, that will be very good. But I would like for you also to put there in the comment section what you've learned. Ano yung big takeaway mo? Ano yung favorite line mo? Ano yung step na gusto mong gawin to move out of your toxic relationship? And lastly, thank you for everybody who sent stars. And I would really, really, really be upfront in telling you that these will help me pay for the tech and for all these web things that I need to pay to be able to come up with Coffee Break. Hindi ito magpapasweldo sa akin. Makakatulong to continue with the mission. So thank you for all those who sent stars. And if you think that God is calling you to share with me, by supporting Coffee Break, please do send digital stars. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. It's a pleasure and a delight to join you this afternoon. This is Dr. Michele Alignay talking about toxic relationships in real conversations on faith, well-being, and family life here at Coffee Break. Thank you and God bless you all.